All right, so we're into part 2 of doing this fuel system now. Thank you to my buddy Austin. He let me borrow his awesome crimper. This thing's like $700. And this is meant for solid pins for the Deutsch connectors here. Another thing I got was one of these cool connectors. It's a pass-through connector. I think that's the part number right there. It's a flange receptacle for DTP. They have the smaller versions. This is a 4-pin version. And I've already mounted it. Whoopsies, I knocked my pins off. I already mounted it here. Now you can see it has a slight curve to it, but it works. And then I use an 8/32 drill, or sorry, tap there for that to work. And it comes out this side. The reason I did this to keep things as short as possible. And again, I was already gonna put a plug on it, so I put it in here and it bangs around. This gives it a mounted spot now, and it's here. And with the Powerhouse Racing setup, they have this mil-spec connector, so I could put that in, and it could pull out as one if I need to, and it frees everything up. I don't know, it's like that. So it's gonna run directly in from that. Love that setup. I just drilled and tapped this like you can see there. Using those little 8/32, that's all you need. Now again, you can see it bent around there, and this does have a gasket, so you can see the black gasket there. I can't see the part number in there, but you can get this stuff from like ProWire, and it has a gasket, so if you're worried about fuel smell, don't have to. This is actually a sealed piece, so at least keeps the smell of the car. And again, if I need to, like, dang, I keep knocking everything over. Click right here, boom, out, there's your wire. Pull the cover off, and you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and start crimping these, which I've got 2 of them on here using that crimper. You're supposed to pull the sheeting back a little bit more than this. You can just barely see it there. I like it as close as possible. Just for my sake, I just like it that way. So I just keep stripping till I know it absolute bottoms out. And then you just have mine that has just a smidge. It's not technically the right way, I know. But that's the way I prefer it, and it's not going to affect anything when it comes to resistance or anything of that nature. So I've got these other 2 to do. I just got to pin it here real quick, and then pin it inside of here, click this on, and then that's on, and then tomorrow the 10 gauge Tesla shows up. And for that, I most likely won't be able to use these solid pins. I ordered open barrel pins that are designed for DTP. There's only like one place that sells them because you're really only supposed to use 12 gauge, and I'm using 10 gauge because the current. I just want to make sure it holds up. So I wanted to have larger wire just to be safe. So go ahead, and I'm going to crimp the rest of these here real quickly and see how this goes. So there's nothing really fancy to this, okay? Like this literally is like super, super basic. So just turn this around. This is like a turret thing. So you just pull up on this. God dang it, or that. And then you can spin the turret around depending on your size wire. For me, I'm using the 12 gauge wire here. And then what you do, so once you have that set up, gosh dang it, Ricky Bobby. Once you get that set up, drop that hog down in there, get your wire here. Come on, Bobby. Get that in there like so. And once it's in, just crimp her down. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Again, these solid barrels are nice. Again, where's the other one? I got one more pin to do here. Come on. So again, I can do it this way too. Put it on. And put it inside. And that's it. Now those are all pinned. I'm gonna put it inside of this case that the camera's actually sitting on right now. Sorry, you guys can probably hear my kids here, but the way I'm gonna run this is, I'm gonna put my first power wire in here, and again, this is why I like Deutsch connectors. Do that, boom, it's clicked in. Put my other power wire just below it here. So this is my pump 2, which I'm gonna separate here real quickly. There we go. Do that, and push it in like so. Boom, clicks in, like that. That's simple. And you can see I've got extra wire here. And now I can do the other 2. So the 2 grounds on the other side. And again, they're color matched. So stripe to stripe, solid to solid. And then there's a third pump, which I'm not using. I still have the old connector still on, or the old pins. So I'm just going to leave those on there for now. I'm not going to keep cutting, splicing if I don't have to. Just leave those off the side. And then this is just your 3-wire. That's used for your fuel sender. Not fuel sender, but for your fuel level sender. So that's pretty much it. Like, it's that basic, guys. So that's what it looks like all pinned up. And now I know I'm gonna get asked, they're gonna be like, Ryan, well, how's it gonna go in? And well, I'm gonna show you here now. So there's only 2 connectors now inside there. You got this one here, which is for your level, which I have there. Again, I made a new wire there, ran that over, which is this guy here, so plenty of that. And then this here, so click it in here first. Now I don't have the lock on it right now, and I haven't been using it. I need to get the lock. I don't have that, and I need to get one. So I do need to do that. But before I put this all together, I want to give the people who make that hanger another props. Powerhouse Racing, you guys the best. So I tested the pumps, they seem okay. They're not 100%, but they seem pretty good. But they sent me 2 new 525 pumps. They actually sent me relays. These are actually the little bit bigger leg relays. These are from Picker. These are 50 amp, but they use the bigger legs on it. They also sent me new clamps, the tubes, and new socks. So thank you, Powerhouse. Like, this will help a ton. Because once I get this in, before I replace the pumps, I'm gonna actually get this together because it's easy to pop that off, but I want to test it. See what the amp difference is, because I had like 18 amps before, which you guys saw in the last video. I'm curious to see what this does this time around, and curious what it does. But thank you, Powerhouse. That was beyond kind of y'all, because again, let's think about it, guys. It's not a product they sell. What I mean by that is it's not something they make. They sell it because you can get it with your hanger, but that was very kind of them, so deeply appreciated. But again, I got plenty of slack in this, so I can plug it in here, and if it had the collet on it, which I don't know why this one doesn't, hers does, and I think it's because I lost it like an idiot when I was pinning it years ago when I did this back in like 2018, where hers I did better, didn't have any of that, and I think it already has Deutsch connectors there. I might actually do this setup on hers. We'll see if I like it first. I'm not gonna buck that one. That only has little twin 320 pumps in it. It's like tiny. So let's plug this up and I'll show you what it looks like plugged up. All right, so my 10 gauge wire came in, and Tefsel is so like thick. There's a 10 gauge, and it is the sheathing on it super thick. But yeah, this should work. I already got the ground side done. Again, I kept it as short as possible, keeping some relief in it, but you see it loops around there. And then it's going to go right on there. So it comes right out and in. And I just use this as like heat shrink or whatever. So this is glued heat shrink here. And then this is just high temp sheathing. Again, it's not fancy Raycam or anything like that. I know my buddy Steve will watch this and be like, oh, you need to use Raycam. I get it. I understand why you want to, but here's, it's fine. So yeah, and these are real Deutsch connectors, by the way. I think I mentioned that before. These aren't like the knockoffs. And this is moving right now because I don't have the lock in it yet. I need to put the lock in so it keeps it from moving too. That's the same reason I wanted this bolted here. I didn't want this banging around anymore like it was inside of here. I'm trying to keep as little movement out as possible. And then I just got to run the wires up now. I want to thank my buddy Austin for letting me borrow this awesome crimper. This thing is fantastic, but I guess it should be for $700. So you literally just put your pin down inside there. You can see I just crimped this here. And again, getting solid barrel and 10 gauge is like tight. It's not really meant for it. I actually bought these open barrel right here that are meant for 10 gauge for the DTPs, but I have nothing to crimp it properly. So I was able to get this on. I just can't, kind of had to do it by feel instead of like crimping this down the whole way, because if you do it too much, you can actually damage the wire. But this literally just sits down in there, and it sits down perfectly where it needs to be crimped at. That's what the turret's for. You tell if you're using, 12 gauge, whatever, put it down in, crimp it, pull it out, and then you're done. And solid barrel is just nicer for that fact. I should have a little bit more showing here, but as long as it's inside of this, it's fine. The showing part, I guess, like the rule of thumb is it's whatever half the width of what this is should be showing. But anyways, now I got to route all this wire because I don't want to waste it because it's so expensive. This little spool is $120, not cheap. So like I said, ground's done. I just got to run it up front now. So let's open the door here. Already got everything else out inside, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that plug out right there, and then I'm gonna run the wire up here, through here, got the back seat out, run up under there, and it comes right up and out, just like this 1 gauge wire I have already. Comes out right here, so it'll come out through there and right in. Boom, done. So I wanted to go ahead and pin this side so when I'm pulling and moving it and stuff, I get the exact length instead of it just sitting there. Because I want to do one run, get the wire back, and go, okay, pull it out, cut it. I'm going to go ahead and sheath it, run it back, and then I'll pin the rest of it back here. I'm not going to have pins already as I run it all through, but I just wanted this done so I can get the length. Well, that was a lot faster than I thought. So roughly, I'll get an exact length, so I wanted to measure beforehand. It came out to, when I just roughly did it there, was like 13 feet. I think I'm going to have to trim some off once I get it fully laid out there, but I wanted to go ahead and get another one done, both pinned, and then start sheathing this, and then also put heat shrink on it just so it's all one wire. If I have to, I'll cut back that stuff there because I don't want it overlapping too far, because I like having some room there, so if I need to depin something, I can. That's why you see that I have so much extra. If this was smaller wire, I'd put it closer, but this stuff is so thick, you need a ton of room to actually maneuver it and depin it. But yeah, I need to get a new lock on this. I think that's part of the problem too. These lock washers are coming loose. I think that's also part of the problem. So I'm gonna get some Nord lock washers so these can't wiggle loose over time. But yeah, so I end up being like 13 feet, gonna cut the other one to about 13, run it up here, or run it from to the back, pin the other side. You see here, this actually turns out really well. This crimper is super nice. It's a lot better than my $30 Amazon one. God, that looks way better. And it crimps it right at the same spot every time, again, with that turret. So make sure you don't go too high, too low. Never had one with a turret on it, and this makes it way better. All right, so we're done. wired up. I tested myself. I'm going to show you guys here in a second, but here's our ground. I'm going to go out and get a new bolt because when you stack all these things up here, again, the bolt is not gripping as much. Again, there's more resistance there, so I'm going to get a slightly longer bolt to go in here. I tested how much further I can go, so I'm going to get a slightly longer bolt just so it goes in and it gives more grip. Going to get a new lock washer also. This guy here needs to go on it too, so I'm going to get a new one and see if I can get something. See if Tractor Supply has Nord lock. I think they do. So get a Nord lock washer, get a slightly longer bolt. This way it goes the whole way through. But here's our ground. So again, it's about 1.5 feet long, maybe not even that. And then this ended up being just under 10 feet. So it was like 9 foot 8 inches. Because I measured it before, it was 13 feet. For that one wire that I knew exactly was 13. The other one was way off on, apparently. I thought, so I actually had to cut it off. It came to like 9 foot 8 inches is what the total length of the wire is from the front. So ran it through here, up under the car, up under the plastics here. You can see I got the rear seat out so I could tuck it up under here. And then there's the 2 orange wires. And again, the reason I'm using orange is that was the cheapest color. Believe it or not, the color of the wire makes a big difference in the price. Apparently people don't like orange. So that saved me like 30 bucks on 40 foot of wire. And I know people are like, why don't you use red and black, especially back there for the grounds. I didn't really feel it was necessary, and plus I didn't feel like spending more money for a color that you can't see, and I know what the ground is. If I can't figure out that, hey, that ground is going to that battery and those are the power, and I just marked it here 1 and 2 so I know which is which, I think I've got other issues going on. So that being said, let's try and test this out here. So good way, you can see everything here. Let's do active state 1. So here's our pump number 1. So let's do high. Whoops, oh, sorry, it needs to be low. Just, oh, goodness gracious, Ryan. So used opposite. So it kicks on here. You can see it on the high side there. You can see the voltage jumping around. It's pretty cool to be able to see this now. So we know that one's good. Put that back to high state. And then low. Again, this one's working. And what I want to show you guys too is, let's key the car off. I want you guys to be able to hear it. It's already set up to prime, so when you kick it on, you can hear them both priming. So it is ready to go. It's time to test her out. All right, so let's go ahead and start logging here. Can't get my hand in there, so just so I have this, let's see how this goes. And pulling that because I don't trust anything anymore. Let's see how this goes. Jump up there though. You can see it, I can see it hit 19 there. It's crazy how much these pumps pull, man. Absolutely wild how much amperage they'll pull. Fuel pressure's good though. Doesn't seem to be running properly though. Something's not right in my opinion. Something still seems slightly off. All right, so got the fuel hanger out now. So again, car got up and running, everything's good. But the one thing I did see, I saw 23.2 amps at the fuel pumps. Not at the fuel pumps, but from the Nexus running only 21 PSI. Now again, I know they're working hard, but I'm like, I don't want to risk it. I could keep using these pumps, but they are 5 years old. They sat stagnant for a while. They probably have 7,000 or 8,000 miles on them. That's not a ton. But I do have 2 brand new pumps from Powerhouse Racing, so thank you a lot to those guys. I'm like, you know what, it's not worth it. They even sent me new fuel tubes, so I don't have to screw around with that. The only thing I don't like replacing on these things is these clamps here. So for this, I actually had to cut the clamp off. You see there, use my side cutter there. Cut that clamp off just up here, and I said screw it, left the bottom one on, so that made it a lot easier. The old pumps are out, and I wanted to mention this too. I did a resistance test on these, and honestly, they weren't bad. Like the resistance was pretty good on these, but it's better safe than sorry. We can obviously test it now with amperage stuff, and I'm going to do a resistance test even on the new pumps because again, better safe than sorry. It should be less than 0.5 volts. Okay. If you do a resistance on a new pump, it should be under that. It should be 0 realistically, but it should be under 0.5. Anything under that, it's good. It's Gucci. It's new, which we got our new pumps here. So what you do with that is literally put it on ohms, test those 2 prongs, checks the circuit, and you should be left at 0.5 volts. If you do, you're good to go. One other thing I wanted to show here too, you'll notice that I went back to the bags here. So I was actually gonna try and reuse these stainless steel filters and I couldn't. They wouldn't snap back on. Those little prongs in there, I don't know if there's a way if I can pull it out or replace it, but that little like snap piece in there wouldn't work. So for now, I put them in a baggie because I'm like, these are supposed to be, I think, good for life. I mean, I think that's the whole purpose behind them, but right now I can't get the snap back on. So I'm putting in a little baggie, putting it in here. I'm keeping my old pumps too, just God forbid something else goes wrong and I need a pump in a pinch. I know one of these is good, which is this one. This one actually tested really well. It's the primary pump that didn't, but I replaced both because again, 5 years old, PHR was awesome, yada, yada, yada. All the wires and stuff looked good here too. I wanted to check the pins down here. The pins in here, flawless, great. That made me really happy. I know some people crimp their stuff down in here, like just crimp the wires direct. This is where it's nice. Swapping the pumps today was super easy now because I didn't have to do all that. I just want to know why this discolored like that. I want to know why that happened is the only thing I'm curious about, why all the connectors discolored like that. Just the white ones. I guess that's probably was white at one time. Also, just like this white wire here from Toyota was white at one time and is now brown. And it's probably from the ethanol. You know, it was never designed for ethanol originally. Like this, all this stuff was. I'm surprised it still works, which I'm going to do knock on wood, which I don't have right here. Let's go find some right here, knock on wood, because it's still working. I know PHR, Powerhouse Racing, sells a new version. They're the only ones because when they discontinue it, we were pretty much SOL. I think they're actually on a V2 of it. I'm not sure why. I guess they improved it somehow, some way, shape, or form. The only thing it sucks is every time getting this in, not PHR's fault, no one's fault. It's just where it needs to sit out. It's off to the side. Trying to fish it in sucks, especially when you add more pumps because it's putting pressure on it. Maybe even try to capture it on camera here, but it's just a pain in the ass. I hate fishing this down in. That's probably the only thing I don't like. Or besides that, with dual pump setup, and again, we can't complain. We can literally fit triple pumps in a factory hangar. Like with 525s, we can do 15, 16, 1700 horsepower on a stock tank. Now, it's not really recommended, but you can do it. Now with brushless, we can go even more than that. You know, we can see over 2,000 horsepower in a stock tank. We're lucky, and our stock tank has a basket in it. So we don't have as bad a slosh as other cars. We're very fortunate, and it's a plastic tank, so we don't have to worry about E85. We don't have steel tanks. So we have a lot of good things going for us right out of the box. So yeah, let's get this installed back in. Real quick, just wanted to show you guys, see that down there? That is your basket. That keeps the fuel from sloshing. Instead of this being an open tank, it has that where your pump sit in, and it keeps the fuel contained from sloshing under load back and forth. Really nice setup from Toyota. We're very fortunate to have that. A lot of cars don't, so I'm glad we do. And again, this is all accessible from the trunk. Most cars have it back there or underneath the car, like back behind the spare seat or rear seat, which would be even for us. I like that it's in the trunk. It's just way easier to work back here versus inside the car. I just open up the trunk and I can access everything. It makes everything so much easier than having it there. So again, another great plus. So got it all installed back in. Just got to pop this back on. I think this is just a breather, so I don't even put a clamp or anything on that. It's actually really tight against there too, so I just never bothered. And this one here, I just leave the atmosphere, and then this is for your fuel pump level sender. That's it. I just got to put the top hat, so plug that black one in back into there, and she done. Also, for this black ring here, I bought a new one, but I've mentioned this in many videos, but get this, you can get it off like Amazon. It's sort of just like Toyota tool for like fuel hat removal, something of that nature. Just start typing it in, it'll come up. You'll find something close to it. They have a better one now. Like this one doesn't have, it's just flat here. They have one that have like stepped out feet, so it grabs it even better and grabs up top. This just grabs the side pieces. Newer ones grab like the top of it too. Because instead of using a hammer and trying to get this off, which works in a pickle, when you're in a pickle I should say, this is much better for more cases or more use. So yeah, the only thing I don't like is, so this is the older PHR, so they keep making revisions. So like hers has the newer version. I actually get to use a straight fitting off of it, which I kind of like better, just because right now it's like pinned against this because I needed to go over and down, because if not, where the newer one comes straight out. And I like that newer version where I can just have the fitting run straight out of it here. And you know, when you don't have to have a bend in any fitting, it's just better. One, it's cheaper than anything else. So anyone else that buys these, they keep getting better, because I've seen the original PHR, so they've made revision after revision after revision, and they keep getting better, better, and better. I do like that about them, which is like make a product's not the same one from like 10 years ago. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how you keep making better and better products. So yeah, let's get top hat on and crank this bitch up. All right, riddle me this. Took the car to Cushwa, which is a local Cars and Coffee. Actually, it's Cars, Coffee, and Beer, like the perfect scenario for Ryan. It's like 10 to 2. One of the best events. It's in Hagerstown, Maryland, Williamsport, really. If you guys haven't heard of it, please check it out. I'd love to meet some of y'all. It's called Cushwa. Actually, I'll link it here. They do it the first of every month, every first Sunday of every month. I think I'm gonna miss the next one, and then I'll miss the one after that too, because I think the last one's on a November and it's beginning of the month, and that's the same as World Cup Finals. But anyways, got the car back apart because I put new pumps in it, and the pump number 2 is actually doing worse than the old setup, and I'm not sure why. I even took it out. This is the third time I had it out now. I raised the pump some. One thing I did notice is, remember how I said this has a basket in it, right? Factory, the pump sits in the middle. That basket is not flat, it's kind of curved. And I always kind of notice this because I've never adjusted it, but the pumps kind of like bottom out on it. So I didn't think about it, because when I put this down, I could like almost spin it. Now when I sit down, it like stops. The rubber is holding it up. So the pumps this whole time for all these years have been like bottoming out in the tank. Not good. So I raised that up just a smidge, just enough that when I sit this down, it stops and bottoms out on this. So the hanger's bound with this, not at the bottom of the tank. So fix that. Next thing is, it took it out for more testing. The primary pump seeing, the number 1 pump is seeing like 22, 23 amps. They're on kill, 36 PSI now, but the other one's seeing 27, 28, and it's not kicking the fuse because it's not doing it enough. It'll go up to that, then it'll come back down to like 23, 24. Both pumps do that, go up and down. It would be like a sine wave almost. Actually not like sine wave, because sine wave's up, stop, down. This is more like a pulse, it's like this. Not even a wave, it's like boink, 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 peaks and valleys. Extreme peaks and valleys. So I'm like, okay, let's switch it. Maybe it's because it's the secondary pump. When it kicks on, it's just that inrush is hurting it. Did that, not same thing. The number 1 pump that was now the number 2 does fine. That one being the number 1 pump now, which was the second pump, is still just going sky high. So I'm like, okay, the pump itself. So what I'm gonna do is, because apparently the old pumps were fine, and I kept them both, I'm gonna put one of the old pumps in, keep it in number 1. So in this case, the number 1 pump is the one on the solid color. So this one here, this is the one, or this is the number 2 pump. This one was doing not so well. So I'm gonna take it out. I did find out you can use this, the same tool you used to install it, if you cut it the opposite way. So if I grab this guy here and grab it like that and clamp down, it should break it. You have to put a little bit of force. On the aluminum fittings it's fine, but on the pumps is where it's sketchy, because that's plastic. You're putting a lot of pressure there. I'm afraid to break it. On these aluminum fittings, I can really wrench down on it. So yeah, I'm gonna pull that pump off, put this other pump on, and again, thank God for Powerhouse Racing. I've worked with them for so many years now. They had so many of these tubes and clamps here. I had extra. I forgot I did. I was looking in there like, boom, thank God. So I had extra tubes and clamps, and these are E85 safe. They're like, I think they're nylon. So gonna put those on, and it should be good. Thank God for them, or I'd be SOL right now. So we'll swap the pump out. I'm also gonna put the stainless steel filter on this. The one filter works, the other one I can't get. So this one's back on, so I'm gonna use the old stainless steel filter and this pump. I etched this one too, so I don't forget. I literally put a number 1 in it, so I know it's an older pump. Actually, I'm probably gonna etch here too, like 1 old or something. So if I ever have to do this again, I can look back at this video and know that, hey, it's etched physically into it. So yeah, you can see this is a 285 pump made in America. Like I said, I checked resistance on this, and we'll see. I'm perplexed. I guess this is the word I'm looking for here. Push this up here like that, actually. See if that, there we go. So I'll put that in, there we go. Fits a little bit better. I don't know. I do notice this though, this is the older too. I always have had this longer versus this one. I don't know if that makes a difference. This one looks bigger. It's harder corrugated. This looks a bit smoother. I don't know if that makes a difference. I have no idea. We'll find out. But this pump was fine. So I hope this fixes it, because I was just literally scratching my head today, because I have the old logs from when I first put this all together, did it with the Nexus. It was below the 25 amps for both pumps under full load. Now, as soon as I get into it, like as soon as the second pump kicks on, it's just not happy the entire time. Like it's not like, oh, higher PSI, I tried that. Low, higher, it didn't matter. It just was not happy. Versus the old setup, it was happy no matter what. It just, yeah, obviously it spiked. 525s definitely go high. I already know people are going to ask me, and other people already said, why not go brushless? Again, the whole point of what I do is to do this stuff for you guys. Like, can Ryan figure it out? If I can help someone else out, like this keeps everything super simple by using it with the Nexus, cool. Should you do this? Should you not? Like, that's what I'm here for. Like I want you guys to learn through me. Don't make the mistakes I do, and you guys don't have to. You know, let me spend the money. Again, fortunate to have people to help me, companies to help me. Let me do this for you. Let's do the product testing through my dumb head. All right, so going to finish this off here. Yeah, I had to put one of the old pumps back in. and that fixed it. So I guess I got a faulty pump from the factory. So I actually have it labeled here. So this is one of the older pumps, but this pump here, which was brand new bag, all that stuff. Only thing we swapped out again was the pump and the tube, we should say. But the other new pump is fine, but the one that I was using for a secondary was no good, or it's pulling way more amperage than need be. So yeah, I put one of the old pumps in, now it's good to go again. It's wild how that works. So now it's happy again. Again, I don't have to do it this way. I just think it's kind of cool that I can run it off the Nexus, something to do different. Again, that's the whole point of me making these kind of videos. So I'm going to continue the testing for this. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Again, the one thing I'm going to have to swap out though is these injectors. I'm going to have to go to ID 1700s. These go a rate for like 1550 on a good day, what they're flowed for, where the ID 1700s actually flow at like 1850. It's wild how much more they flow, so I can run a lot lower base pressure. Because again, the goal is 1,000 to 1,100 wheel horsepower. I'm going to go down smaller turbo so I can get rid of all that. But I digress, guys. Thank you guys very much. Thank you out again to Raceworks. Thank you to Powerhouse Racing. Thank you to Howtech for all this help and support. Appreciate it from y'all. Thank you guys very much and have a great day. Peace.